Last night, it was Memorial Day. We had the break. Cody Bellinger didn't take any breaks out there, and neither did that Dodger offense getting to the Mets bullpen. If we take a look at DeGrom and Kershaw last night, Teddy, total set at 7. Oh, yeah. How about double that out at Chavez Ravine yesterday?
Yeah, and, the starters pitched fine. Neither bullpen was particularly effective, although there could have been even more runs in that game last night had not Cody Bellinger made 2 ridiculous outfield assists. He probably saved 3 runs doing that. The Dodgers now 16-0 in Clayton Kershaw's last 16 starts. Kershaw's quote after the game for his red-hot Dodger squad: "You can't really poke a hole in anything right now. It's fun." Definitely fun. He's been riding the Dodgers or the Dodgers on the run line in recent ball games. That is a hot baseball team, and certainly last night they took it out on the Mets pitching staff one more time.
Teddy, never too early to take a look at Major League Baseball season and try to squeeze out maybe a little bit of value. I'm not big on taking advanced or future numbers here on MVP candidates because, again, if I check the calendar right now, it's still the month of May. But it looks like there's 2 clear guys right now in Major League Baseball we're taking a look at, and that will be Yelich at plus 300, who already is over the 20 home run barrier. If we take a look at last night with the home run by Bellinger, putting him at 19, along with playing excellent defense and a super high batting average this time, he's listed at plus 350. Is there any advantages for taking it now? You're just saying, hey, look, we're only one DL stint away for, a twisted ankle or a bad shoulder to ruin both of these guys' causes here.
Yeah, really, when we talk about betting futures, I love the futures that are yes-no props. That's why we spend a lot of time with season wins. They're going to go over or under. When you start talking about, let's list out a whole bunch of candidates and someone's going to win this and everyone else is going to lose it, man, the books take out a ton of juice on these props. I almost never bet them unless there's a real long shot that looks live, something 40-1, 60-1, 80-1. Then I'll take a flyer on some of those. But we're talking about plus 300. It's May, plus 350, and they're going to hold that money until October when these get paid out. I'd rather keep it in my pocket. I don't think there's great value on either. Even though you have to look at Yelich and Bellinger as the 2 favorites to win the NL MVP. Even with that, the price isn't right.
Well, even looking at Yelich up there in Milwaukee today, safe to say that Derek Jeter and the Marlins didn't win that trade when they moved on and got Yelich out to Milwaukee because they, quote-unquote, couldn't afford one of the best contracts in baseball, and the production is absolutely astounding that Yelich has given the Milwaukee Brewers. Let's keep it moving here. Talking about money that's astounding, Teddy, how about some big dogs cashing on Monday? And the Marlins taking down Mad Max, pulling down a nice plus 250. It seems like the MO right now, if you're betting against those Washington Nationals, Teddy, just try to get through Corbin, try to get through Strasburg, try to get through Mad Max, and feast on that bullpen. The Marlins did that, took down the big ticket, despite Mad Max having a pretty good showing yesterday, Teddy.
Mad Max had plenty of good showings this year. But the Nationals are a team, and Max Scherzer is one player. There have been 232 pitchers to start a game in MLB this year. 231 of those 232 pitchers are more profitable than Max Scherzer. The Nats are 2-10 in his starts. They're minus nearly 15 units. The second least profitable pitcher, Chris Sale, the Red Sox 3-8 in his starts. They're down nearly 12 units, but nobody has been worse. Nobody has cost their backers more than Mad Max this season. And frankly, he hasn't pitched that bad. It's been the lineup, and in particular, the bullpen behind him, that has continued to be a problem for Washington.
Yeah, Washington's gotten pretty healthy again, back in that lineup 1 through 8 again. Still missing a 1 or 2 components, but you got the guys back. Trey Turner, you got Rendon back, Soto back healthy. They should be hitting, especially yesterday. And when you get a good start out of your ace, you got to be able to put that away. How about another game that was interesting? Castillo pitched very well for the Reds, but yet again, the bullpen exploded in that game, and the Pirates were able to cash a pretty good ticket, close to 2-1 yesterday in the first game of that doubleheader, Teddy.
Yeah, although, second game of the doubleheader since he said, no, Pittsburgh, you're not winning a whole lot of games. And I'm looking at this Pirates team as they've overachieved so far. They have to be a 500 level squad. Josh Bell can hit, Jordan Lyles can pitch, and everything else is pretty dicey right now for Pittsburgh. And again, they've been able to take advantage of opportunities. They took advantage of defensive miscues from the Reds yesterday, but moving forward, and even in game 2 yesterday, wasn't pretty for the Pirates. I'm not convinced June is going to be a good month for Pittsburgh.
We've got a full slate of Major League Baseball coming up today on that betting show. We'll get to a couple game previews in just a few moments. But look, hey, it was Memorial Day. Center ice yesterday was Boston. And how about this, Teddy? Before you could blink, you had a slow start in that game, saying what's going to take place, maybe that extra time off not helping, and then a 2-0 lead by the Blues, completely erased with 4 unanswered goals by the Bruins. And Teddy, I know it's only 1-0 right here in the Stanley Cup Finals, but does Boston need another title? I mean, come on.
Yeah, well, they got the best team, so it's going to be quite an upset if St. Louis is able to pull off 4 wins in the next 6 ball games. The Bruins were rusty last night. They looked absolutely slow and sluggish in the first period. The second period was pretty dominating. 29 scoring chances compared to 7 for St. Louis. And, of course, they had the play with Torrey Krug, the 5'9 defenseman, with his helmet off, delivering a vicious hit that kind of sparked everybody up on the Bruins. That's probably a good sign moving forward for Boston backers, although we've seen St. Louis respond well to adversity more than once this postseason.
Hey, Ted, I got a question for you, which, again, we'll look at a little bit at this Bruins series right here, but this pertains to most, and even we're going to talk about the NBA Finals. When we take a look at the Eastern Conference Finals, you had a prohibitive favorite with the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, they favored heavily in games 1 and 2. And the question I have for you here is the series prices that we have, because obviously today, if we take a look at the Bruins series price of -175, they open up for game 2, but for the series itself is -305. I think most people expected last night that the Bruins were going to win that game. When is it best to take full advantage of the team that's an underdog? Because typically they're not going to have home court advantage and say, you know what, let me jump on this and say, I'll wait for Boston to get 2-0, and then I'll have a huge number because I think they can win the series and maybe hold home ice at that point. Is it advantageous to take, let's just say, the St. Louis Blues before the series, or wait for them to lose a game or maybe even lose 2 games in Boston before taking a shot at that big dog price?
Well, that's an excellent question, Donnie. And the truth of it is these series prices are good wagers. Why? There's only 2 options. All right. Team's going to win the series. They're going to lose. So it's not one of these deals where we're looking at a house takeout that's going to be enormous. The juice here is normal. So that tends to be a positive sign. Now, if you're saying, when do I want to grab the dog? It all depends on what you think St. Louis' chances are in game 2. All right. If you think the Blues are live in game 2, you take the dog on the series price now before game 2. If you want to take the big plus price and you think that St. Louis is going to go down 0-2 and still have enough to come back and win the series, then you hold off. But frankly, you think the Blues are going to win the series, I bet them right here, right now. I wouldn't wait till after game 2. You might lose all that value you just got following that game 1 victory.
Words of wisdom by Teddy Covers right there. Take that for a note. Let's get a little bit of NFL talk here in May. Let's go over the 2019 NFL season team preview today. Those Washington Redskins. How about this, Teddy? Talk about taking a flyer on the price in an underdog. How about 100-1 to win the 2019 championship, 40-1 to win the NFC, and the team total sitting at 6 with a -105. The Redskins finished up last year at 7-9 on the season, going 2-4 in the NFC East. Now, the question that we're going to have, which pertains to that low team total, is we think a new quarterback is going to move in. You had the devastating injury last year to Alex Smith, not going to be able to recover and ready to play this year, so he's going to be on the shelf, and a lot of money dedicated to that position there. Go out and draft a quarterback in the first round, trade for Case Keenum. I think we all see the writing on the wall that Dwayne Haskins is probably going to be the opening day quarterback, if not moved in there shortly after that. Promising running back last year went down early before even getting a game in Darius Geis. He should be ready to go this season. But the talent that stacks up. Look, if you're going to go against the Dallas Cowboys, who I think is a pretty good football team, the Philadelphia Eagles, a pretty good football team, I'm not that high of hopes here for these 2 bottom feeders in the NFC. Obviously, we already previewed the New York Giants, but now getting to the Washington Redskins. And the schedule's not going to help them starting out, Teddy. 3 tough ones right off the bat. Not looking good for the Redskins this year from me, Teddy, in 2019.
Well, it's funny because we think of Washington as a bottom feeder. I mean, they had a terrible year. Well, they went 7-9 last year. They were a game away from being 500. The year before, they had a winning record. The year before that, they had a winning record. They haven't been bottom feeders. There is talent on this roster. Last year was a quarterback debacle. I mean, that's all you can say. When you have Alex Smith and then Josh Johnson and then Colt McCoy. Mark Sanchez started games for the Washington Redskins last year. They finished with a QB rating as a team of 78.1. Only the Bills, Jets, and Cardinals were worse. All 3 of those teams started rookie quarterbacks. Now, opposing QBs had a QB rating of 95.1. Solid. You look at their stats last year, you're like, this team should have been worse. 0.7 yards per play. Every single play, they were outgained between what they gained on offense and what they allowed on defense by more than half a yard. They were a -0.2 yards per rush. I talked about the QB rating of 78.1 compared to 95.1 from opposing QBs. They were +7 in turnovers last year. They had a positive turnover margin, and they did have an easier than average schedule last year. That's also the case this year. It's slightly easier than average. And you look at the draft, I mean, everyone's going to love the draft. Why? Because the Redskins picked players that people know. That's why they love the draft. Oh, Haskins and Montez Sweat, what a great move. And they got that wide receiver out of Ohio State. And Bryce Love, wasn't he supposed to be a first rounder last year? It's a nice haul in the draft. You look at the offseason free agent moves, Landon Collins coming in, 6 years, $84 million. Talked about Case Keenum, DRC, Dominic Rogers Camardi, after he's been reinstated to the NFL, now playing for the Redskins. There's hope for this squad. They're not hopeless, but at the quarterback position, they need something decent. You question about their skill position talent. I think their skill position talent's fine. Look at the defensive talent. It's fine. Washington has the potential to be a sleeper this year, but you talked about that that difficult start to the campaign. You talked about the QB issues, and also new first-time offense coordinator Kevin O'Connell, the former San Diego State quarterback. Although Bill Callahan's going to be heavily involved. We'll see if those two can put together an offense that makes Jay Gruden smile instead of Jay Gruden looking grumpy like he's done a whole lot in the recent seasons.
Hey, Ted, I got a quick question there. When we're talking about new quarterbacks coming into the league, obviously we know it's tough to ingratiate yourself and get it right away. If we're taking a look, you do have a veteran quarterback presence in the room with Case Keenum. Do you let your rookie quarterback go out there knowing those first 3 games are going to be tough? Do you baptize him by fire, or do you have that natural progression? Like, let's just say they go 0-3 or 1-2 to start the season. The pressure builds up. We want to see the rookie quarterback. It's easier for the head coach and the GM and the front office to make that move and say, well, Case Keenum didn't really provide what we needed the first 3 games. It's time to move on. Or do you send that rookie out there right away to face those first 3 games?
Well, Gruden's got to win this year. His job's in jeopardy. So he's going to put whatever quarterback in to start the season that he thinks he can win a game with. And if Haskins ends up being that guy, if he wins the job out of camp, more power to him. But I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Dwayne Haskins start this season on the bench, Case Keenum behind center, and Case Keenum behind center moving forward, unless he's completely ineffective or he gets hurt.
NFC East complete here on SBRodds.com and also SportsbookReview.com. We'll continue it over to the AFC as we get underway on our march to opening day here on the channel.